She was yelling again before the sun even came up. "You can't block the community path," she shouted, waving a clipboard like it was a badge. The problem? That path was my front lawn. My own land. I just put up a small wooden fence to keep people from cutting through. But this woman, Janet, head of the so-called HOA, acted like she owned the whole block. "I told you last week," I said, trying to stay calm. "There's no easement here. This is private property." She smirked, stepping closer. "Not according to my records. I'll be filing a violation notice, again." The neighbors peeked from their windows, pretending not to watch. It was the third time she'd done this. Fake letters, threats of fines, even stuck a bright red notice on my door once that said non-compliance, eviction possible. My hands shook, but not from fear. "From control, go ahead," I said quietly. "Just make sure your records match the county's this time." She froze for half a second. Then, trying to recover, she pointed at my fence again. "You can't build that without HOA approval. It'll be gone by tomorrow." I smiled, though my heart pounded. "We'll see." What she didn't know was that I had already checked every legal line on that map. That land wasn't just mine. It carried something she could never fake, proof. That night, while she slept thinking she'd won again, I installed something behind that fence. Something small, something wired. Next morning she was back, clipboard, phone, and attitude. She stepped over the fence like she was crossing into her kingdom. But the moment her shoe touched my grass, a soft click sounded, and her face, oh, her face changed in a second. Because the surprise I'd installed wasn't just for her. It was for everyone watching. HOA kept cutting across my lawn. So I installed a surprise Karen will never forget. The sound that came after that click wasn't loud, but it was enough to stop her cold. A short beep, followed by a blinking red light from a tiny post near the fence. She looked down, confused. "What is this? Some kind of joke?" I stepped out from the porch, coffee mug in hand. "Security system," I said calmly. "Motion-triggered cameras, county approved." Her lips twitched. "You can't record HOA officials without consent." "Funny," I said, "because last week you recorded me from your car while calling me a trespasser." She flinched. "That's different." "I was documenting a violation." "Right," I said. "And now, so am I." She glanced around, realizing half the street was watching. A couple across the road whispered something, then raised their phones. The power she'd used for months, intimidation, fake authority, was slipping right out of her hands. She turned toward the camera. "You think this scares me? I'll have your fence removed by city order." I took another sip. "Then I guess you'll be talking to the sheriff." "The sheriff?" she repeated, voice cracking slightly. "Yeah," I said, stepping closer. "You remember last time you called fake officers to inspect my house? They used red lights from a construction van. Sheriff didn't like that story much." Her face went pale. "You reported that?" "I didn't have to," I said quietly. "He's my brother." For a moment everything froze, the neighbors, the air, even her. Then she tried to recover, forcing a dry laugh. "You're bluffing." But the sound of an actual patrol car turning onto the street made her flinch again. The timing was perfect, almost like it had been planned. I leaned in and said softly, "You wanted authority? Janet, you're about to meet the real one." The patrol car rolled to a stop right in front of my house, dust swirling around the tires. Janet straightened her blouse and fixed her hair, pretending she'd called them herself. "Officer," she waved, all fake confidence. "This man is building unauthorized structures on HOA property." The door opened and out stepped Sheriff Cole, my older brother. Calm, steady, and built like someone who'd seen real problems, not HOA drama. He looked at me first, then at her. "Morning, Janet. Got another complaint?" She blinked. You know him?" "Of course," he said, walking over to the fence. "He owns this land. County records confirm it. We checked last month." Her mouth opened, but no words came out. "That can't be right." "The HOA maps," Cole cut her off, voice even. "HOA maps don't override county deeds. You've been warned before about false claims." The crowd of neighbors was growing now. "Phones out," whispers spreading fast. I didn't say a word, I didn't have to. Cole turned to me. "You still got that footage from last week?" "Every second," I replied. Janet's eyes darted between us. "Footage? What footage?" "The one where your HOA security crew cut across my lawn and broke my sprinkler line," I said, keeping my tone steady. "They left your car parked right there in the shot." For a second, her confident smile vanished. Then she tried again, voice trembling. You can't use that. That's invasion of privacy. Cole folded his arms. You were trespassing on private property. That's not privacy, Janet, that's evidence. Someone in the crowd gasped. Another neighbor muttered, She's done this to us too. Janet turned, snapping, Stay out of this. But the voices didn't stop. It was spreading. Every homeowner she'd bullied was finally speaking up. She tried to step back, but her heel caught the little red light post and, snap, the fence rail cracked. She stumbled right in front of everyone. I didn't move. I just said quietly, Maybe next time knock before walking on someone's land. And for the first time, she didn't have a comeback. Janet's face turned bright red as murmurs rippled through the crowd. She tried to regain control, brushing off the dust from her skirt. This is harassment, she stammered, pointing at me. You people don't understand the regulations. Cole stepped forward, calm but firm. Janet, enough. You've crossed the line too many times. These notices you've been handing out, they're not official. They're fabricated. Her eyes widened. That's a lie. He raised a brow. Then maybe you can explain why the county clerk found your name printed on a fake HOA letterhead, and why the signature belongs to a board member who moved to Florida 3 years ago. The air got heavier. Every neighbor froze, eyes locked on her. You can't prove that, she said weakly. Cole held up his phone. Actually, we can. He turned the screen toward her. It was a video, a recording of Janet slipping fake violation papers into people's mailboxes at night. The security camera had caught everything clear as daylight. Janet's mouth dropped. You tricked me. I shook my head. No, Janet, you tricked yourself. The camera was already there. You just thought nobody would dare stand up to you. A woman from across the street called out, She fined me $200 for painting my porch blue. Another voice added, She said my dog wasn't HOA approved. One after another they started speaking, anger turning into courage. The same people who'd been silent for months were finally standing tall. Janet looked trapped like an animal cornered by the truth. You all think you can gang up on me? I am this neighborhood. Cole's voice dropped low. No. You were the problem in this neighborhood. Then he said the words I'd been waiting for. Janet, you're under investigation for impersonating a housing officer, falsifying legal documents, and harassment. Her face drained of color. You can't arrest me. Not yet, he said. But I can make sure you don't touch another mailbox again. The crowd began clapping, not loud but steady. A slow rhythm of relief. I looked at her once more and said, The funny thing about fences, Janet, they're not always there to keep people out. Sometimes they're there to show you where your power ends. She didn't say a word, just stood there shaking as Cole walked her to the patrol car. The neighborhood felt different that evening, quiet, almost peaceful. The same street that used to buzz with tension now had people talking over fences, sharing stories like old friends. Kids rode their bikes past my house again, laughing. For the first time in months, nobody avoided eye contact. I was just putting tools away when a soft knock came from the other side of the fence. It wasn't Janet. It was Mr. Douglas, the retired Marine from 2 houses down. Heard what happened, he said, his voice rough but kind. Took guts, son. Most folks wouldn't stand up to her. I smiled. Didn't have much choice, he nodded. We all have a choice. You just made the right one. Then he looked over the fence. You mind if we help you rebuild that rail she broke? I hesitated, then laughed quietly. Sure, but I'm warning you, it's got a motion sensor now. He grinned. Good. Maybe she'll think twice before coming back. As we worked, more neighbors joined in. The same people she'd scared with fake fines now carried hammers, nails, and lemonade. It wasn't about fixing a fence anymore. It was about fixing the street she'd divided. Then, as the sun began to set, Cole returned. His cruiser headlights swept across the lawns, catching a few surprised faces. Just came by with an update, he said. Janet's under official investigation. Turns out she'd been running her own fake HOA account, collecting money from half the block. A ripple of shock spread through everyone. You're kidding, someone muttered. Nope, he said. And get this, she's not even on the HOA board. Never was. The laughter that followed wasn't cruel. It was relief. The kind that comes when a storm finally breaks and people realize the sky's still there. I looked around and said, Guess we finally own our lawns again. Cole smiled. That you do. Oh, and that camera system you installed? The footage helped a lot. The DA wants a copy, I chuckled. Tell him he can have it. I've already got my favorite part saved. He raised a brow. Which part? The moment she realized the law was standing on my side of the fence. And right then I noticed something on my porch. A small envelope, no name, just a single note inside. Thanks for standing up. You reminded us what this street used to feel like. I folded it quietly, looked at the stars and whispered to myself, freedom's just a fence away sometimes. A week passed, and for the first time in a long while, mornings didn't start with shouting. The air felt lighter. Still, something about the quiet didn't sit right. I kept the cameras running just in case. One night around 2 a.m., the motion alert pinged on my phone. A single red light blinked across the feed. Someone was near the fence again. I zoomed in, expecting maybe a raccoon, but what I saw made my chest tighten. It was Janet. She moved fast, wearing a hoodie, flashlight in one hand, something metallic in the other. She crouched by the fence like she was unscrewing something. I hit record, heart pounding. She wasn't supposed to be near my property. She'd been warned legally. But there she was, trying to rip the camera off the post. I called Cole immediately. She's back, I said, and she's tampering with the evidence. He didn't even sound surprised. Stay inside. I'm 2 minutes out. Through the window, I watched her glance around nervously. Then she pulled out a spray can and started painting over the lens. I couldn't help but mutter, "You just made your last mistake." Blue and red lights cut through the night, silent at first. Then the siren wailed. She froze, dropping the can. Cole's cruiser stopped right at the curb, headlights glaring. "Janet Harper," he shouted as he stepped out. "You're trespassing on private property under active investigation."
"Hands where I can see them."
She tried to run but tripped over the same broken rail she'd caused last time. The irony was almost poetic. Cole cuffed her while I stood at the porch, arms crossed, watching the scene unfold like the ending of a bad movie. "I just wanted to delete the footage," she yelled, tears cutting through the paint splatters on her face. Cole shook his head. "Too late. It's already uploaded to the cloud." Neighbors' lights flicked on one by one. Curtains opened. Phones pointed. Janet looked around. This time, she wasn't the one holding power. As they drove her away, Cole turned to me. "Guess that's the final nail in the coffin." "Yeah," I said quietly. "But it's not about her anymore." He looked puzzled. "What do you mean?" I watched the flashing lights disappear down the road. "It's about everyone she fooled into thinking fear was authority." The night went still again, but now the silence felt earned. By morning, the whole neighborhood knew. News trucks parked near the cul-de-sac, reporters speaking into cameras with lines like, "Fake HOA leader arrested for harassment and fraud." For once, the story wasn't twisted, it was the truth. I stood on my porch, watching them film, feeling something I hadn't in months. Peace. No clipboard. No fake rules. Just my own home exactly as it was supposed to be. A woman from the local paper came up the steps. "You're the homeowner, right? The one who caught her." I hesitated, then nodded. "Just did what anyone would have done." She smiled. "Not everyone does. People are saying you brought this whole street together." I looked across the lawns, neighbors talking, fixing mailboxes, repainting fences in whatever color they wanted. Freedom never looked so normal. "Maybe we all just needed a reminder," I said. She jotted that down. "Mind if I quote you?" "Sure," I said with a small grin. "Just spell my name right this time." Cole showed up a few hours later, holding a file. "It's official," he said. "Charges are filed." Turns out Janet had over 30 fake violation letters saved on her computer. She was even collecting dues straight into her personal account. I exhaled slowly. "Guess the fence really did its job." He laughed. "Yeah, but not how you planned." "True," I said. "It didn't keep her out, it brought everyone else together." He handed me a folded sheet. "County's issuing a statement too. They're thanking you for helping expose an impersonation scam that's been hitting other neighborhoods." I looked at him, half surprised. "So this wasn't just here?" He shook his head. "Nope. But yours was the one that ended it." The weight of that hit me harder than I expected. All those months of frustration, silence, fake notices, suddenly they felt worth it. As he walked back to his cruiser, he called out, "By the way, you ever think about joining the real HOA board?" "They're reforming it," I laughed. Nah, I'm better at building fences than running them. He grinned. Fair enough. The breeze carried the smell of cut grass and fresh paint. Normal, quiet, honest. I took a long breath, feeling every bit of it. HOA kept cutting across my lawn, so I installed a surprise Karen will never forget. Yeah. And the real surprise? It wasn't the fence or the cameras or the footage. It was that standing up for what's right still works. A few weeks later, life on Maple Ridge Lane finally felt like the neighborhood I'd dreamed of when I first bought the house. No red notices. No fake rules. Just folks who waved when they passed and stopped to talk instead of argue. I was watering the grass one quiet morning when Mrs. Lewis from next door called out, "Hey, hero." "Got a minute?" I laughed. "Please don't call me that." She walked over holding a pie. "Too late. Everyone's calling you that. This is your thank you slice." I smiled, taking it. "You didn't have to," she shrugged. "You didn't have to fight back either. But you did. For all of us." Her words hit deeper than I expected. I'd fought for something simple, my right to my own space, but it had turned into something much bigger. Later that day, a letter arrived from the county office. Inside was an official notice confirming the property boundaries, bold, stamped, and final. I pinned it on my porch wall not out of pride, but as a reminder. Truth doesn't need to shout to win. The new HOA board, made up of actual residents, stopped by that evening to thank me. Real people this time, no fakes, no power games. They asked if I'd help write a fair policy for everyone. I said, only if the first rule says nobody steps on someone else's lawn without asking. We all laughed. But they knew I meant it. As the sun went down, I sat on the porch watching the lights flick on across each home. Kids chasing fireflies, dogs barking, someone grilling down the street. The kind of peace you can't buy, only earn. Cole pulled up one last time, leaned out his window and said, "You did good, little brother." "Proud of you," I smiled. "Guess all those years you spent teaching me about boundaries finally paid off." He chuckled. "Yeah, but I didn't think you'd need cameras and Karen-proof fences to prove it." "America's full of surprises," I said, sipping my lemonade. "But so am I." He drove off and the night settled quiet again. I looked at my yard, my land, and felt that deep, unshakable sense of belonging. Because in the end, it wasn't just about a fence. It was about standing your ground, even when someone tries to take it, and somewhere out there, I hope Janet was learning the same lesson, just from the other side of the bars. I didn't fight for this country to be told I can't park in my own driveway. That line stayed in my head as I turned off the porch light. Justice, freedom, and peace all fenced in together right where they belonged.